Greetings, brothers and sisters. Hello and welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I'm Eva Maria, normally your Monday host, but this week I switched days because I didn't feel that I was quite up to task for making this video on Monday. But this week we're talking about people that have influenced us on our paths, on our magical journeys, on our spiritual journeys, that kind of stuff. And I could say there are people that have influenced my own journey. Probably the first was my mother, because growing up, she, without realizing, sort of brought my attention to things that I otherwise probably would not have believed were possible or were real, she sort of introduced a lot of concepts to me that I think were very foundational. She would tell me stories about the paranormal. She would tell me stories about, witches and things like that. Things, things in the old world. Stories of folk beliefs or stories of things that had happened that she knew of. And I think those were, without her intending them to be, they were very much a starting point, in my journey of being curious, of believing, of being open to things other than mundane reality. So I would say that my mother is probably the main person who is very influential on my journey, on my path. But there have been other people. There's one person that I no longer speak to, and I really don't want to go into details who this person is. But there was one person that used to be a very big part of my life, and this person was a magical practitioner, and I don't quite know how to articulate how he influenced my path, but he did. And I think it's because, being older than me, he sort of, how can I explain it? He sort of made the way, I guess you could say. I learned a lot of things just from talking to him and just from seeing him go about his path and his journey. And I was inspired very much by that particular person, for example, to question and to explore a lot of different paths. Because this person was not a person who learned all they could and stayed in one place. This person would learn as much as they could, get very familiar with one particular path, and then they were like, okay, I want to learn about this other thing because I want to expand my mind. I want to, develop myself, develop my capabilities, the techniques I work in, and so on and so forth. And so that very much rubbed off on me, because my journey was very much like that. I went from one place and then eventually to another, and then eventually to another, and another, and another, starting with Wicca, until eventually I ended up as the Chaot. And yet there are other people too who have influenced my journey. And there are people who are yet influencing my journey. I just got off the phone with someone who is, I'd say, a very, very dear friend. And we just had the most awesome conversation about spirituality, about magic, about religion. We touched upon even psychology. We touched upon some philosophy too. It was a really, really good conversation. Just having had that conversation, I know that will in some way shape my journey further as I continue on. But it's so fresh, it's so new, so I can't really say like in what ways just yet. But we are all sort of interacting with one another. You know, even here in the YouTube community, we learn and we share and we grow from one another. And I feel that it is very true that who we interact with, they can very much leave us with, you know, new understandings, new ideas, new techniques, so on and so forth. They do shape us. They do direct us and influence us, for better or worse. I think usually for the better, though. But I do think that there is no one that can truly say that they have not been influenced by anyone. We have all been influenced in some way. Even people that have nothing to do with the alternative faith, you know, community, or, you know, the sort of, I guess I could use the umbrella term, pagan community. You know, people outside of that can even influence our paths, our journeys, you know, our state of being as spiritual, magical, religious, whatever people. So it's really hard for me, other than sharing what I've just shared about myself, it's really hard for me to really say much else on this topic. Other than, you know, there is no one who has been uninfluenced. There's not much else I can say. But maybe this topic, maybe what's so important about this topic is that we acknowledge that, you know, no man is an island. We are all shaped, and we are all continuing to be shaped. We all are continuing to evolve and grow. You know, you never stop learning, you never stop growing, you never stop being influenced. And that's a good thing. But I think it's important to remember your roots. I don't care how powerful you become, you know, how knowledgeable you become. I think the one thing that this topic definitely brings to the fore is the importance of acknowledging all those who have made you what you are today. Why is it important to acknowledge that? Maybe so your head doesn't get too big. Why wouldn't you want your head to get too big, you know, to get too full of yourself? I believe that if you can't acknowledge that others have gifted you with knowledge, or others have gifted you with something that helped you to further yourself, better yourself, if you cannot acknowledge where you came from, I don't think that you will have as great of an ability to function and flow as freely. Because those that become very powerful and very full of themselves, I feel like they become very self-absorbed and very, what's the word? What are the words I'm looking for? They cease to be able to see the forest for the trees. You know, they tend to be people who are very blinded by things like anger. They tend to lose their ability to be objective, is what I'm trying to say. And that can be very detrimental to technical excellence in magical workings. So I guess these thoughts are all I have for you. I really have to be going to bed because I have to be up for work very early tomorrow. So I hope that this video has at least given you some food for thought. You know, it's not so much a focus on who influenced me. I mean, yeah, I'm sharing with you, yeah, my mother, this other person that I shall remain nameless, you know, that I don't talk to anymore for totally unrelated reasons. And people still, you know, that I interact with on a daily basis, you know, or even just people that in passing that do just happen to have continuing influence over me. You know, it's not so much a focus on that. I think the greater point of this is, as I said before, acknowledging where you came from, acknowledging who shaped you. In a sense, those that have influenced us greatly, those that have shaped us, are sort of like our forefathers and our foremothers in a sense, but not, don't take it literally. It's not a literal terminology, you know. They've made us who we are, and I think it's very important to be aware of that. So take this video as you will, make of this as, you know, whatever you will. But blessed be an Ashe. I hope you've enjoyed this. Yeah, until next time, until our next exchange, you stay awesome, and bye-bye for now.